What am I supposed to do when the person that I would die for has done something that I should kill her for?
You talk to her. You're not judge, jury, and executioner.
That's what you don't understand, Annabelle, is yes, I am. Oh, we're doing this. Cool. So let's just be quite clear on this. We just spent the last hour or so discussing what we were going to do about Vannevar, what our strategy is for the city, and now I've got to engage in some bullshit dick measuring contest with you.
No, that contest
Great.
is over. Done deal, Victor.
According to whom?
Out it comes. Blood, fur, bone, whatever went down, comes back up.
The rat didn't know who I was. But it was the fires of the First Inquisition that drove us all to the table to talk. And the fires of the Second Inquisition are lit. I have seen it myself.
There's a murmur of laughter.
I turn and I look at them and I say, I wonder how many of your sires laughed before they met the fires. Before I get out of the car, I activate awe.
You activate awe.
Same.
Also.
Same.
Now, you jump to the top of the generator so that you're the tallest thing on the construction site. You smile and give them a good look at your fangs.
No one will believe it anyway, it's fine. There's a little show we have to put on. You might call it a sort of masquerade that we all have to live into, that none of this is real. You know, sir, I respect you deeply, but business is business.
How do you suggest I repay you for your inconvenience?
We both know you hate the valley. It's such a long drive in the traffic. Like, you don't even want it. Everybody is so worried about everybody else. Everybody's like, oh, what's Therese gonna do? What's this bald man in a suit gonna do? What about what I'm gonna do? Why doesn't anybody ever care about that? I go around, I try to be nice, I try to take care of everybody, and then the shit hits the fucking fan and I have to clean it up every single time.
Drops to one knee.
5 successes.
He drops to both knees and he bows his head. I have no excuse, sir. All shall be as you instruct.
You want to know the craziest thing? I'm actually all right, man, because I've always been that way. Back when I played ball, it's just the crazier it got, the lower the time on the clock got, the louder the fans got, it becomes easier for me to see the basket.
Hello, and welcome back, family, to Masquerade Monday. This is the second in a series of videos where I'll be doing in-depth profiles of the characters of LA by Night. You all have spoken, and the next video you wanted to see was about the undisputed Baron of the Valley himself, Victor Temple. So kindred, let's dive in. Victor Temple is the type of guy who spends little time in the past, focusing instead on the future. This may be one of the reasons we know so little about his past as a mortal, his embrace, his sire, and his first nights as a kindred. So what do we know? Well, as a human, Victor was at one time a basketball player with at least 2 children. Victor missed out on the majority of their lives before he was turned and opted out of them afterwards to keep them safe. What we know for certain is that Victor alienated his family, started a record label, and was embraced into the Ventrue clan within the Camarilla. Victor didn't stay long within the sect, again for reasons that aren't exactly clear, but he did somehow establish a cordial, or at the very least beneficial, relationship with another Ventrue, Fiorenza Savona.
Victor, my boy.
Fiorenza, hello.
You will be at the Succubus Club tonight at midnight, dressed appropriately. Your invitations have been arranged. And Victor, my boy. Dear boy, don't make me regret this. Good evening.
Fiorenza Savona is an ascending member of the Ventrue clan and acting Camarilla Prince of Mexico City. This relationship was friendly enough for Fiorenza to temporarily allocate her trusted ghoul Eve into Victor's custody. As Victor built up his music empire, he also employed and ghouled another trusted figure, Campbell, and seemed to make some shady and perhaps not so legal deals that have led to him having enemies. Victor eventually found himself allied to the Anarch movement, leaving behind the Ivory Tower for good. At some point, Victor met a toreador named Nellie G, a fashion designer and entertainment icon, and since both of them fell under the Hollywood barony of Isaac Abrams, they formed a coterie along with a Nosferatu named Jasper. The coterie were tasked with protecting the Masquerade and were communally granted the domain of Griffith College. Victor was granted the domain of his club, the Maharaja, which also fell under Abrams' purview. At some point, the coterie were responsible, albeit inadvertently, for rescuing some women who were being trafficked. During this time, Victor still maintained visits with at least 2 of his children. It is unclear if he has more, Mark and Isaiah. Victor made good use of his dominate discipline at the conclusion of these gatherings, a topic we'll discuss more in a bit, forcing his sons to forget he was ever there and leaving them with a lasting impression that they have a famous father who makes no effort to have a relationship with them.
Don't you miss Mark?
I see Mark all the time.
What are you talking about? He says he hasn't seen you for a year.
Yeah, he says that.
Therefore, it comes as a great surprise to Victor when he and his coterie discover an unauthorized kindred feeding in their domain, who happens to be Mark's girlfriend Annabelle. Annabelle recognizes Victor from photos she has seen in Mark's apartment and outs him as a dad to his coterie.
Annabelle. Sociology student Annabelle. Are you dating a guy named Mark? It is her.
Mr. Temple?
She knows you?
What? She's dating my son.
Ah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
lacrosse
Does
player?
he know about?
No, and he will never know about this. We will talk in the car.
Victor and his coterie are charged with caring for and training Annabelle, and this poses a unique problem for Victor, who realizes that there are now even more chances that Mark could get hurt or even killed due to his relationship with 2 different kindred. As Annabelle joins their coterie and learns the ropes, Victor rarely misses the chance to instill upon her the importance of keeping loved ones at a distance.
If anything happens to my son, I will spend centuries tormenting you. I will cut off your toes. I will cut off your fingers. I will stake you and leave you out and let you starve in pain and anguish for centuries. And the only reason I don't do that to you at this exact second is I believe you didn't know. You didn't know. This time yesterday, life was completely different, but you're here now. No more fuck-ups. This is the game.
It's a lesson Annabelle struggles to learn, but we'll talk more about that in Annabelle's video. Victor not only has to worry about the life of his son and the unlife of his new charge, but someone seems to have painted a target on his back, and some thugs show up and take some shots at Victor and his coterie. But Victor, ever the businessman and brimming with aplomb, has much more important things to attend to, namely an album drop for his newest artist, Chocolate Drop. Unsurprisingly, the night's events do not go as planned, and in addition to meeting and striking a deal with a gangrel named Ramona, who just so happens to bring with her a bag full of hunter's weapons, Victor learns that it is someone named Bobby Blaine who is after him and his coterie. Not only is this Bobby Blaine supposedly getting back at Victor for some slight that occurred between them when Bobby still breathed, but Bobby seemed to be working with human hunters in exchange for immunity, for lack of a better term. Inspecting the bag, Victor finds an array of weapons, including 2 Ralphus guns, custom-made heavy pistols specifically designed to fire modified incendiary rounds, supremely dangerous for kindred. Although Victor tends to show these guns off more than he uses them since they came into his possession, Victor rarely leaves his haven without them. The night brings more bad news as the Baron of Hollywood arrives with Victor's other son and Mark's twin, Isaiah, who happens to be working for this Bobby Blaine. All the work of keeping his kids away from kindred affairs seems to have been for naught, but he manages to convince Isaiah to accept a plane ticket to Vancouver, far away from the kindred machinations of LA. Victor also learns that Abrams had a favor to repay to this Bobby Blaine, and Victor uses this knowledge of Bobby's closeness to the human hunters, also known as the Second Inquisition, to essentially blackmail the Baron into issuing Victor a portion of his domain and a barony all his own, the Valley.
Bobby's working with the humans, and you're working with Bobby. And if that were to get out to, say, Nines Rodriguez or Teresa, then things would be really bad in Hollywood. I would hate for something like that to happen. That you're one step removed from the Second fucking Inquisition, sir.
Well, you're an ambitious fellow.
We both know you hate the Valley. It's such a long drive in the traffic. Like, you don't even want it.
Being Baron, however, is not without its challenges. Victor makes some interesting moves early on, discovering the existence of thin bloods in his domain, striking an alliance with the former followers of Set, the Ministry, and sending Bobby Blaine to his final death on the dance floor of the Succubus Club. Unfortunately, Victor no longer has Fiorenza's ghoul Ebe at his side to help him manage his new domain. Victor seems to genuinely care for Ebe, which is not only evident when he tells her he loves her before she leaves, but Victor also went toe-to-toe, or more accurately entrail to claw, with a werewolf named Strixacord with the intent of protecting Ebe. When a boon is requested of Victor and his coterie by the White Witch of Griffith Park, Eva the Tremere, the instability of being Baron becomes clear. Although Victor succeeds in this favor, rescuing 3 Tremere at the Grove and granting them domain in the valley, Victor and the coterie inadvertently attract the ire of the Camarilla, who move up their timetable of descending upon LA. The Camarilla Herald, Chaz Price, a Toreador and sire of Nellie G, something we will go more into in Nellie's video, arrives at Victor's club to announce that Vannevar Thomas, former Prince of San Francisco, has now arrived in LA and declares praxis over the city. Victor, along with the rest of his coterie, are clearly angry and maybe even a little scared at this pronouncement, which prompts Baron Temple to declare praxis against Vannevar.
New plan, Chaz.
Yes, Baron.
Let's have an election. I'll declare praxis against Vannevar Thomas.
Oh my god.
Suppose you're welcome to do so.
Yeah, it's gonna work out fine. It's gonna be great. Yeah.
Wait.
Hate everything.
No.
No, it's gonna be fine.
To no one's surprise, this does not work in Victor's favor. In fact, it backfires. Due to these 2 events, the incident at the Grove and the declaring of praxis, a thing anarchs do not do, Victor lost a portion of his barony to another Ventru named Fiona, who, coincidentally, was managing the area before it was formally granted to Victor.
This outlines my property.
I don't see your name on here.
That's because I'll be taking over a portion of what you're currently Baron over is now becoming mine.
Oh, we're doing this. And now I've got to engage in some bullshit dick measuring contest with you.
No,
I'm
that
sorry.
contest
Great.
is over.
I have no interest in measuring dicks.
Done deal, Victor.
According to whom?
Does anybody care to dispute me on it?
Me. I
Anybody?
care to dispute you on it.
Anybody else? That's what I thought.
This dividing of domain was done by Baron Abrams, and none of the other barons offered voices of dissent. Victor holds grudges against both of these kindred, going so far as to open a new club location in the valley. Plans for revenge, if there are any, have not yet been fulfilled. Of course, that might be difficult with Isaac Abrams having been called off to the beckoning, but like I said before, we'll talk more about that in Nellie G's video. Victor, to his credit, seems to be one of the only kindred who is concerned enough about the threat of the Second Inquisition that he is willing to attempt to negotiate with Vannevar Thomas and the members of his court. Victor, Nellie, and Jasper head to their Elysium at the Getty Museum, and as hard as Victor tries to get Vannevar to realize that their politics mean little when humans are prepared to wipe them all out, it falls totally on deaf ears.
I'm glad that you said this, because you've now come to the real thing that I would like to discuss, that yes, we do in fact have a common foe. We do in fact have a common foe that will not differentiate between Nosferatu, Toreador, Ventru, Camarilla, Anarch. They will just see us all as monsters and want to destroy us all, which is quite true. So yes, I preserve the Masquerade in an unusual way, but you've spoken to the fact that you and I need not be adversaries. None of us need be adversaries because our real enemy walks in the daylight.
What do you propose, Baron?
There may be a way we can resolve this to at least not to our own greater benefit, at least not to our detriment. Peace between us. I propose diplomacy. A new convention of thorns right here in Los Angeles. Yes, we can show everyone, we can show the entire world that there is a new way forward. You know yourself, the world has changed.
The world is fundamentally the same. The beast is fundamentally the same. If I were to describe to you gravity any differently, it would still pull you to the center of this earth.
This prompts Victor to switch tactics, recruiting the Nosferatu, at likely significant cost, and the Thin Bloods to the Anarch cause for the inevitable war that is to come. But he never stops trying to broker peace, at least until they can evade or outlive the Second Inquisition threat. Speaking of Thin Bloods, it should be noted here that Victor has wavered on his opinion of them. Mostly he has referred to the Duskborn as Ghouls 1.5, or 2.0 if he's feeling generous. Lately he seems to have come around to their legitimacy and right to exist in the night as other kindred, but it seems likely, given Victor's knowledge of certain prophecies of the Book of Nod, that he still views them with hesitation and maybe even fear. The time of the Thin Blood prophecy has to be put on hold, however, as Victor and his coterie face increased threat from the Camarilla when they set off explosives at Club Maharaja, forcing the Baron and the coterie to flee in broad daylight. The hits just keep on coming when Mark arrives at Victor's new club in the valley, the Maharani, and he learns the truth about both his father and his girlfriend, and allows himself to be ghouled by Annabelle. This backfires extraordinarily when Mark shows up during the grand opening of the Maharani and nearly gets killed during an attack by the Camarilla Scourges.
Where are we going? Why did you take me?
Maybe the next time you are in mixed company, you shouldn't tell people who your father is. Not a good idea. She smiles and shows you her fangs.
Mark survives, but Victor nearly lost his son and Touchstone when not too long ago, Mark was hidden from his coterie and arguably much safer. Although Mark survives the assault, Jasper is taken by the Scourges, and Victor calls on his old friend Fiorenza to try and locate Jasper for a rescue attempt. The mission is successful, but Victor learns that the intel came not from Fiorenza, but from Ebe, the newly embraced La Sombra and now appointed sheriff of Vanavar's court.
Ebe, the new sheriff of Los Angeles, is not in a position to associate with you at this time.
Why would Thomas name a ghoul sheriff of Los Angeles? That doesn't make any sense, ma'am.
I agree. An astute observation. He would not.
Victor doesn't take this news well, but Ebe came through for him and his coterie, so he continues to trust her. Victor finally gets the détente he so desperately wanted, but it comes at the cost of personal betrayal, although Victor doesn't, and likely wouldn't, see it this way. Exploring the labyrinth where Jasper makes his home and haven, the Baron and his coterie, including Eva and two of the Weird Sisters, come across the Camarilla Tremere, Aurora the Scourge, and Maximilian Strauss, a very old Tremere who the coterie knows is an enemy of Eva's. When Eva and a badly injured Jasper attempt to stop Strauss's movements in the labyrinth, Victor uses his dominate discipline to force Eva and Jasper to step aside and let Strauss do as he will, likely because he had just struck a peace deal with the high-ranking warlock and because he thought it was the best course of action.
Mass dominate Jasper and Eva. My command is, please step aside and let Strauss and his party pass.
It's unclear whether or not you are aware of what has happened. That is to say, it's unclear whether or not you are aware that Victor has chosen to force his will on you. Even if you come to this conclusion, it seems like the right thing to do. It makes sense. Why stand in his way?
Victor flaunts his ability to manipulate minds and emotions, even joking about it on a regular basis.
But what was Lacrosse Kid's name?
Chris.
I thought it was Josh.
Okay.
I could make him think his name is Josh. Oh.
Sir? Miller?
Yeah, great. Mac, you know where the Grove is, right?
Miller, sir. Yes, the Grove. Right away, sir.
Hey, one quick thing, and submerge directive. The next time you feel like correcting me, don't.
Pretend like you don't hear what I'm about to say.
Yeah, okay.
I can make sure she doesn't hear what you...
How close...
Whoa.
And as problematic as that is, and dominate and to some extent presence is in general, Victor had not used dominate on his coterie mates or his allies. But here, he did. He robbed Jasper, a kindred who has put himself in danger for him and his coterie multiple times, and Eva, a powerful witch who has a long history and knowledge of Strauss, who has also significantly aided his coterie, of their free will just because he thought it was the easiest easiest way to solve the problem. When this is brought up to Victor by Eva, months later when the effects had faded, Victor was dismissive and practically glib about the event.
Victor, you see little sparks of electric energy begin to play around Eva's fingertips, shoulders, her hair.
I just don't appreciate when people mess with my head. Victor, stay out of my head.
I have your back, I always have. Just remember which way to point the lightning, okay?
Baron Temple is a Ventrue, yes, he's pragmatic and practical, but taking away someone's free will should be a last resort and never an easy choice. But Victor has bigger fish to fry. Nellie G is now his fellow Baron. Baron Therese is hiding from a blood hunt, a topic we'll discuss more in X's video, and his thin blood allies are preparing for war because the Ivory Tower does not consider them kindred, and therefore they do not fall under the terms of the truce between the Camarilla and the Anarchs. In Season 5, will Victor stand beside the Duskborn and break the fragile détente? Will he support his fellow Baron of Santa Monica? Do you think his use of Dominate on Eva and Jasper was justified? If Mark is embraced, breaking Victor's touchstone, how do you think he will deal with it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and tell me some of your favorite Victor moments in LA by Night. I make content multiple times a week, and every Monday is Masquerade and now sometimes Mage Monday, so if you enjoy what I do, please consider hitting that subscribe button. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!